now there's a suburb in Auckland called Orake, which is actually it's quite a neat little place. And now they are fighting McDonald's as well. So we're going to talk about that still before 4 o'clock. But before then, prospective home buyers are looking at alternative methods to get on the housing ladder, are buying in groups or with a few friends, but they are being urged to do their homework first and put the appropriate legal arrangements in place. According to the most recent Housing Affordability Survey, conditions for first-home buyers have improved over the past few years, but the median house price is still 8.2 times the median income, at the upper end of this severely unaffordable category. Despite the challenges, buying with friends has become a more common way for Kiwis to get onto the property ladder, especially into their first home. Experts say it can work well, but only if everyone involved is upfront, realistic and legally prepared for the unexpected. Amy Stevens is the founder of Slice, a platform that supports first home buyers through the process, including those who are opting to buy with friends or family members. And she joins me now. Amy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
I find this particularly interesting because my husband and I did this with a friend about 15 years ago. And
Did it work out okay?
It did actually work out, and we made sure that we, went to the lawyer and had a very thick book of the do's and the don'ts, and that we all agreed, on things. There were a little hiccups at the end, but I'll save that for after I've spoken to you, Amy. Yeah. So this is really interesting for me. Firstly, though, can you tell us a little bit about Slice? You're the founder. It's a relatively new business, is it? Am I correct? And why did you form it? And and what do you help people with?
Yeah, absolutely. So Slice is a marketplace that automates the home buying process for buyers, brokers, and lawyers. So we certainly support first home buyers and buyers in groups. We also support partners in the space and try and streamline the way that everyone's engaging and working through what is a very overwhelming process for most people. I think regardless of, your expertise, whether you come from a financial background such as myself or a legal background, when it's your money on the line, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And of course, when you're contributing money with other people as well, that brings about its own risks. So yeah, we're relatively new in market, but we've grown quite a lot despite actually the market being slower over the last couple of years. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities out there that there weren't previously for first home buyers in particular, which is super exciting. We've seen that grow from strength to strength in terms of market share, with them taking up to a quarter of purchases now. But still certainly challenges, and I myself had those challenges purchasing. I think it was 2020 or 2021 when I purchased my first home, and I did that with my mum as guarantor. She actually went away with a profit share, so it worked for both of us, and then I bought again with my partner of 3 months. So I'm a big advocate for finding different ways and getting creative about getting on the housing ladder. If it's not someone that you know as well, or you don't have that relationship available to you, there are sort of government schemes and other initiatives that people can explore as well. But yeah, Slice exists to really simplify buying property regardless of how you're buying it, because I think before you can get into more complex scenarios, you actually need to understand the basics and really have one simple platform that is stepping you through each activity that you need to complete. So that's what Slice does. Obviously born about by personal experience.
Yeah, which is always the best way, isn't it? Those are the best businesses. Can I ask, did you say that you bought your house with your partner of 3 months?
That is correct. I did. So I had built the Slice platform though. So the poor guy
have to explain.
He was a bit of a guinea pig going through the Slice process with me.
Bless. Hey, Amy, how popular is co-buying with friends? I mean, there's obviously, when we did it, my husband and I with a friend, like I said, it was 15 years ago. So it's not a new concept, but do you have a percentage? Has it become more popular?
Yeah. Look, it's definitely more popular, but I think one person's view of co-ownership might be different to my own view.
Mm,
Which actually, when you're purchasing with a partner, I see that as a form of co-ownership. In terms of people coming through our platform, I would say over 60% are either purchasing with their parents contributing, or at least in a couple.
mm,
In terms of, and probably an easy way to look at it is less than 5% coming through are buying as individuals. So it's a
yeah.
very small amount of people that are buying on their own. And I think that gives some sense of, okay, well, this is a very common thing. And as you said, it's been happening for a long time, but it's really about getting it right and having the right support around you to make sure that you're protected and your relationships are protected as well.
What's the most unexpected issue that you've seen pop up between co-buyers? So you've got a group of friends. Gosh, we love each other. We date back to school days. This is going to go, swimmingly. What should they know?
Yeah, I think there's a series of questions we take them through on the Slice
Yeah.
platform at slicetobuy.com. We have a free decision making tool. And so there's more than one decision that I think needs to be made there. But a couple of key ones would just be, okay, if we're contributing a different amount towards the deposit, but we're going to make the repayments the same, how are we actually going to calculate who owns what, or what profit we take out at the end?
Mm,
So one would be really getting quite logical around who's going to contribute what and what that means when you go to sell. That's definitely a key focus and an exercise that we take our buyers through. Another really interesting one that we see come up a bit is if you're looking at living in that home, which often people do,
mm.
but then of course one room might be better than the other. How do we manage that scenario? So
Yeah.
I want the ensuite.
Yeah.
So
You
how do you
think it's
manage
not a
that?
big
So
deal, Amy? But it is. I mean, you look at it. You're
until
putting
yeah.
you're putting in a lot of money, and you're going to be paying a mortgage for a long time.
Yeah.
And the size of the bedroom counts. I mean, it
Yeah, it
does.
does. I mean, it's your well-being, and it's also just, we can't really remove emotion from money at the end of the day.
No.
The two are attached. So what we do in that scenario would support people to work out market rent, and then they take out market rent from their first kind of contribution towards the mortgage, and then they split the rest of the mortgage according to whatever their equity share is or may be. So we have systems in place to support with that, but that's where having the right team and having those conversations up front is really important.
Yeah. Obviously you advise that each group or couple or friend gets the lawyer to go through everything as well.
Yeah.
As I said, you dot the I's and cross the T's, make sure that. And I find when we did it, it felt a little funny because our friend I'd known, back then. I mean, I've known him 35 years now, but I'd known him 20 years, but before we bought the house with him. So you feel
Yeah.
like you're oh, they're not going to do me wrong, do we? No, I mean,
I
I
think
didn't.
that's
You
the
want to go. Is it going to insult them if I, make sure that we put it down on paper that it's got every single point? But you gotta.
Yeah, I think that's the relationship that you wanna protect the most,
Mm,
right? If it's really a valued and treasured friend of 20 years, you don't want to lose that friendship or that relationship over some disagreement that you didn't foresee. So it can be the simplest of things, but, even flatting with people, I've had good friends that I probably wouldn't flat with again. So it doesn't, it doesn't mean that you can't be great friends, but sometimes you won't have the exact same values, the same view on things. And so it's just about front loading that, and it's really about protecting your relationship. Like one part of it is protecting the asset, but I think the bigger part is actually making sure that your relationship is protected and you don't have to deal with any drama down the line.
because I mean, you always say don't mix money and friends, or money with family, or so it can be one of those situations where you can see a positive. You're going to get a house because you can pull your assets together and put your money in together. But I think what I learned out of it too is that you even think about things like that person getting a potential partner if they're single, right?
Mm.
Because the next thing you
Mhm.
know, you could be now having a fourth flatmate, you know, who might have kids.
Yeah.
So it's all these
And if you
things.
don't if you don't have the right agreement in place as well, you could find, and then they live together for a period of time, and then they go to break up, and then that asset becomes mixed up in their relationship property. So there's all these
Yes.
challenges that can be, if you don't have the right structure and today with the current group of people, there may actually be other people that somehow get wrapped up in that. So yeah, it's really important to work through that. And look, it works most of the time. Like, we have so many success stories that we can talk about, and people really enjoying the ability to share the costs, not just
Mm.
the deposit of getting in the house, but then once you're in the house, you get to share, the mortgage repayments, you get to share the bills, and that means you can still do things like travel, or there's other things in your life and luxuries that you can afford that you couldn't perhaps if you're really stretching to buy by yourself. But yeah, the opportunity is great. It's just that you do want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to set that up for success. And we have fixed fee agreements through our platform. And as you said, yes, included in that is actually an individual review with a lawyer for each of those parties involved.
Oh,
So
great.
everyone's getting independent advice
Advice.
and
Yeah.
getting that support.
Amy, is it different when you buy, say, like you said, your first house, your parents or your mum went guarantor for you? Is it
hmm
different when you involve, you go halves, say, with your mum and dad? I could imagine, you don't, you think, oh, do I really need to be as strict as if I didn't, if it wasn't, if we weren't related, you weren't my mum or dad, would you still advise no? You still go and get advice, obviously. You still make it firm with a lawyer. Do you treat it like that?
Yeah, definitely. I do. I think that, as I said, I think it's important to protect the relationship, and the more valuable that relationship, the
Mm,
more you should be showing up to protect it. Similarly with romantic partners, I think it's super important that you set yourself up for financial transparency and to have shared financial goals. So going through a contracting out agreement or a prenup can be a really important way to come together with your partner and set your
mm,
relationship up for success. So yeah, certainly family and partners as well is super important, which is why I sort of say, nearly everyone is co-owning in my view,
yeah,
if you're
I like that.
purchasing with someone else. Yeah, but I think, yeah, and parents is it's something very common. We see that a lot, and it's managed in
Yes.
different ways. A guarantee structure has a different structure to a gift, has a different structure to a loan. So it depends. If your parents are happy to lose the money, then maybe you don't need it. If you're
Yeah.
if you're lucky enough to be in that situation.
Yeah.
But most of the time, where it's a guarantee or a loan or things like something like that, it's really important that you get the right support.